3 true horror stories that happened late at night. Welcome to Midnight Whispers. The most terrifying things don't happen in the dark. They happen when you're the only one awake in it. Think about the last time you were up past midnight, the house quiet, everyone else asleep. Maybe you were on your phone. Maybe you couldn't sleep. And for just a moment, you heard something. Or felt something. A shift in the air. A sound that didn't belong. What did you do? Most of us tell ourselves it's nothing. The house settling. The wind. Our own tired minds playing tricks. But for 3 people, 3 ordinary people in ordinary homes across this country, what they heard at night was not nothing. And what happened next, changed them forever. If the dark has ever made you feel like you weren't alone, you're not going to want to miss a single word of this. Hit subscribe right now, and turn your lights on. You're going to need them. These are 3 true accounts of what happens late at night, when the silence breaks, and something answers. Story 1, The Sound from the Basement. Setting, rural rental home, southeastern Ohio. Late autumn. 2:17 a.m. Denise hadn't meant to stay up this late. It was a Tuesday night in October, and she was sitting at the kitchen table of the small rental house she'd moved into 3 months earlier, the kind of house where the heating ducts knock and the hallways feel slightly too long. She was paying bills. Her 2 kids, ages 7 and 9, had been asleep upstairs for hours. The house was completely still. And then she heard it. A scraping sound. Slow. Measured. Coming from directly beneath her feet. She froze with her hands over the keyboard and listened. The sound stopped. She told herself it was the pipes. Old houses do that. She went back to typing. It started again. This time she muted her laptop. The sound continued, scrape, scrape, scrape. Rhythmic, deliberate, like something being dragged across a concrete floor. Denise stood up slowly. She checked upstairs first. Both kids were asleep. She came back down and stood in the kitchen, staring at the basement door. It was open. Just slightly. An inch, maybe 2. She never left that door open. She called out toward the gap. Just a quiet, hoarse, hello. Silence. And then, a single knock. From the other side of the door. Denise did not open that door. She grabbed her phone, went upstairs, locked herself and her kids in the master bedroom, and called 911. Officers arrived within 8 minutes. They searched the basement thoroughly. No one was there. But the basement window, the small one at ground level on the north side of the house, had been forced open. The latch was broken from the outside. And on the concrete floor, muddy footprints. Leading from the window to the stairs. And then back again. Whatever had been down there had already been on the stairs. Directly below her children's rooms. And it had left before the police arrived. Denise moved out the following week. She has never spoken publicly about what she believes was in that basement. The lesson she took with her. When your gut tells you something is wrong, it already knows something your mind hasn't caught up to yet. Don't wait for proof. Move. If that unsettled you, the next one hits closer to home. Because this one didn't involve sounds from below. This one was right outside the window. If this is already getting under your skin, drop a comment below. Have you ever heard something at night that you couldn't explain? And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is a good time. We post every week. Story 2, He was standing in the yard. Setting, suburban neighborhood, outside Atlanta, Georgia. 12:43 a.m. Priya was house sitting for her aunt that summer. The neighborhood was quiet. The kind of street where the biggest drama is a dog off its leash. She was 22. Perfectly comfortable being alone. It was past midnight and she was on the couch, watching something on her laptop, all the lights in the house blazing. She wasn't scared. She had no reason to be. She got up to get a glass of water. The kitchen light was on. The window above the sink faced the backyard. She wasn't really looking outside, she was reaching for a glass. When her eyes drifted toward the window, almost by accident, there was a figure standing at the far edge of the yard. Just standing there. Priya didn't move. Her first thought was that it was a neighbor, maybe someone letting a dog out, maybe someone just cutting through. Completely reasonable explanations. She looked again. The figure had not moved. Not even slightly. It was standing perfectly still, facing the house. Facing the window. Facing her. She reached over slowly and turned off the kitchen light, thinking she could see better in the dark, thinking she'd realize it was just a shadow, a bush, her tired eyes. The figure took one step toward her. Priya backed away from the window. Her hands were shaking so hard she nearly dropped her phone twice before she managed to text her friend. Her friend called the police immediately. Priya locked herself in the interior hallway, no windows, and waited. Police arrived and swept the yard, the perimeter, the street. No one was found. No signs of attempted entry. But the neighbor across the back fence, an older man who kept his Ring camera aimed at the alley, handed over his footage the next morning. The figure had been standing in that yard for 43 minutes before Priya ever looked up and noticed it. 43 minutes. Watching the windows. Watching which rooms had lights on. Watching who was home, and where they were moving. The figure was never identified. The case remains open. What Priya says now, you don't always know when you're being watched. Check your perimeter. Use cameras. Tell someone where you are. And trust what your eyes see, even when your mind insists it can't be right. 2 stories down. 1 more to go. And I need to warn you, this last one is different. Because it didn't happen outside. And it didn't happen below. It happened in the one place that's supposed to be safe. Inside. Story 3, something was already inside. Setting, high-rise apartment, Chicago, Illinois. 3:11 a.m. Renata had just finished a double shift at the hospital. 12 hours on her feet. She was a night shift nurse, and at 3 a.m., all she wanted was to take off her shoes, drink a glass of water, and sleep for 8 hours straight. She unlocked her apartment door, stepped inside, and locked it behind her. Everything looked normal. Dark. Quiet. The way it always looked when she came home at this hour. She kicked off her shoes in the entryway. Walked to the kitchen. Drank her water. And then she noticed the bathroom. The light was off. Renata always left that light on. It was a habit she'd had for years, a small night light against the dark. She had never, not once, come home to it being off. She stood very still in the kitchen. She told herself she'd simply forgotten this once. She was exhausted. It happens. She walked to her bedroom, got ready for bed, lay down on the mattress in the dark. And she heard breathing. Faint. Slow. Steady. Not her own. Renata did not move. She lay completely still, listening, telling herself it was the vents, this building had loud ventilation, telling herself it was exhaustion warping her senses. She had been awake for over 15 hours. She listened. The breathing continued. She sat up slowly and turned on her phone flashlight. Swept it across the room. Nothing. The closet door was closed. The room was empty. She got up. She needed water again. She needed to move. She walked toward the front door, and stopped. The chain was unlatched. Renata always, put the chain on the moment she came home. It was the first thing she did, every single night, the moment the door closed. She had done it for 3 years without fail. The chain was hanging loose. She left the apartment immediately. Didn't take her keys, didn't take her bag. She went directly to the hallway, let the door close behind her, and called building security from her phone. Security did a full sweep. Checked every room. Every closet. Under the bed. No one was there. Nothing was disturbed. Nothing was missing. Except one thing. The closet door, the one she had seen closed when she swept the flashlight, was now slightly open. And one of her coats had been knocked from its hanger onto the floor. Security found no record of any visitor buzzing into the building that night. The elevator logs showed no unusual activity. Her door showed no signs of forced entry. But her neighbor, an elderly woman 2 doors down, mentioned to building management the next morning that she had seen a man standing in the hallway near Renata's door at around 2:30 a.m. She hadn't thought much of it. She assumed he was a guest. Renata never heard the breathing again after that night. The chain and the light were never explained. She moved apartments 4 months later. What she says now, it's the small things you dismiss that will undo you. The light that shouldn't be off. The chain you always set. The sound that stops the moment you notice it. Pay attention to the small things. Always. 3 nights. 3 ordinary people. 3 moments when the silence broke, and something answered. A knock from behind a door that should have been empty. A figure that had been watching for 43 minutes before anyone looked up. A chain unlatched in an apartment that no one had entered. Or, perhaps, had already left. The scariest stories are never the ones that end with a monster. They're the ones that never fully close. The ones that leave a question behind. So tonight, when the house goes quiet, and the lights go low, and everyone else drifts off to sleep, ask yourself, are you really alone? If these stories kept you watching, we want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Have you ever experienced something you couldn't explain late at night?